All right, we're still looking at the gospel answer series, and the first thing the gospel is answering is truth. In this series, we'll be looking at other things the gospel answers. In fact, we're looking at the gospel answers other faiths, right? The responses it gives to other faiths and belief systems. But we're starting with the very first thing the gospel answers. The first thing we are told that the gospel answers is truth. Ephesians 1:13 says, we trusted after we heard the word of truth. So there's this burden of truth on all of us as human beings. The general disposition of any person is, I want to know the truth about anything, right? Just about how anything works. I'm looking for an example I could use. Once we see something, I'm like, what's that? You want to know what exactly the thing is, how it was made, which are all questions of truth, right? There are these 5 to 6 questions of truth. What is that? How is it? Who made it? When and where? Then, of course, there's question why. We are designed that way. And where this question of truth is most challenging for humanity is when it relates with existence as a whole, in that primary sense. Why is there something at all? That's the first question. How did we come about being here? What is this all about? And if it's telling us that the gospel answers truth, and the truth in question, it says the gospel answers here, is the truth of existence, then we ought to pay attention to the gospel's answer and see whether it does indeed prove itself to be the truth. Does the gospel, in claiming to be the truth, prove itself to be the truth? Well, let's get right into it. So we have seen Ephesians 1 and 13. We have seen Romans 1, as well as from verse 16 downwards, all the way to verse 18. You recall we're saying that those who believe the gospel of salvation have the righteousness of God revealed to them, and on the other hand, those who reject the or suppress the truth, which is calling the gospel the truth, they have the wrath of God revealed to them. Now, in verse 19, what's the reason why the wrath of God is revealed to those who don't believe the gospel? Verse 19 tells us, because what may be known of God. So at this juncture, you might say, oh, that means the gospel is answering the truth about God. But you are making an assumption that accepts that there is God. So when it says, because what may be known of God, that is not the gospel answering the truth of God. That is the answer the gospel is giving to a particular subject matter it is endeavoring to answer. It is answering that there is God. You should know that there is God in the light of something. So what truth does the gospel answer? All right. What may be known of God is manifest in them, because God has shown it to them. Now, when he says manifest in them, is it in their stomach, their liver? Is it in their kidney? Is it in their legs? The only in them that it could be pointing to here is in their minds, right? What may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. He's speaking about reason in them, and then observation, it is shown to them. Look at the next verse, verse 20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. Clearly seen again is observation, being understood, reason. So he's saying that observation and reason should lead us to a particular conclusion. But observation and reason of what? Remember, I said God is the answer, or is one of the truth claims and answer that the gospel makes about the question it's trying to answer. So what question is the gospel trying to answer? It says, for since the creation of the world, the cosmos. The question the gospel is trying to answer is the truth of existence. We are in this world, and then we are trying to make sense of it. He's saying it should lead us to the conclusion of God, and then to other conclusions as well that should determine and guide our walk, our beliefs, and our walk. Right? So, if we ask the question, what truth is the gospel trying to answer? We'll say the gospel is answering the truth of existence. And now, having said that, the second issue is, what answer does the gospel give to the truth of existence? Granted, the gospel is trying to answer the truth of existence, but what's the answer it gives? Of course, at this point, you have seen God, right? But we have to see how it so proves it. What else does he answer other than God? And on and on. That's what we're going to see from the next video. See you on that one.